Good afternoon. Thank you very much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. How many of you can identify what this is? Now put your hands up. How many of you can identify what this is? Awesome. Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a fairly is a fairly famous memorial in the UK. And and it's just a bunch of stones. It's just a bunch of stones. But when you go there to visit and and the UK tourism charges you £50 for it, you realize that there's a large story behind it. Someone says it's 5,000 years old, took 1,000 years to build. Someone says there's a story that Merlin built it. They got it from Ireland. It was about finding out how many days in the year, and it was a stone calendar. Somebody says it's about predicting weather, etc., etc. The only message I want to leave you with for the start of the engagement is that unless the proposition is remarkable and has a story around it, there's no way that you can engage other human beings as prospects alongside your journey. And Stonehenge is a brilliant example of that. Exceptionally smart young marketers would have figured out the traditional marketing funnel about awareness, consideration, etc., etc. And then the smart young folks also deal with how many sessions, how many visits, how many leads, and how many conversions. Pretty straightforward, so to speak. And I posit that actually this is about only two things: how many conversations you can have, and out of how many connections you've got. And when I say that, I am saying actually conversations trump connections any single day. To create an effective connection in your marketing technology stack, it could be Web Engage, which has a realm of possibilities, or it could be any other tech solution. But what is meaningful is the ability to have those conversations one-on-one with other human beings. And with these two basic thoughts, I have three things to say to you. And it's our story at Bajaj Auto. It's my learnings from the last 2 years. My name is Manik. I basically sell 2 and 3 wheelers to Indians and to 70 countries across the globe. And we're very proud to be the world's most valuable two-wheeler company. Simply told, the story has only 3 parts. Who do you talk to? What do you say? And how do you measure impact? And the question of who do you talk to is quite vexing when you look at the data around you. There are CDPs and there are Facebook console audiences, and there are people who are interested in the category, people who are interested in your brand, so on and so forth. This is an example of how we spun down the Bangalore market from the digitally literate to the guys who had visited the Chetak.com website. How many of you know Chetak is now an electric vehicle in its new avatar? That's half the room. You remember David Ogilvy said, I know half my advertising is waste, I don't know which half. I now know which half. When you target people, it comes down to a funnel. And there is no meaning that you will be able to derive from this funnel, because these funnel numbers are unique to Bajaj Auto and they are unique to my product and brand. But the point is that of these 59,000 qualified inquiries who chose the product, gave their number, wanted to talk to us, about 6,000 came to our showroom to visit, and about 3,000 bought. Those who bought were committed. Those who came were genuinely interested. When we look at engagement, there is a range and a spectrum of engagement. And And approximately 1,10,000 actually felt confident enough to give their name and number because they wanted to know more. But that was where their engagement stopped. And then there were another 59,000 who said, all right, I will select the dealer I want to go to, and I will also select the time I want to go there. They were more engaged. Different strokes for different folks at different levels of engagement is the story that you have to discern for your brand and your marketing funnel. Sometimes it's about motorcycles, which is the product. Sometimes it's about motorcycling, which is the experience. And messaging will work differently for different cohorts in different ways and at different time horizons. The impact of building motorcycling on the brand is a communication that may not result into the funnel that I just showed you, but it results into the way the brand is perceived and the manner in which they will advocate your brand to their friends when they need to. In a manner of speaking, some communications and some engagements are like a javelin throw, and some communications and some engagements are like a shot put. How many people know the overlap of muscles involved in javelin throw and shot put? Nobody knows. It's only 30%. Both are throwing sports, but it's only 30%. The fact of the matter is that if engagement is the objective, the next question is important. Engagement for what? Engagement for creating a personality for your brand, or engagement to get the person right there. And the muscles are different, and so the approach is different, and so the effort has to be different. Every single communication when you reach out to your customer is about solving a real problem. I make very good two-wheelers that are very efficient internal combustion engines, is one way of saying it. The motorcycle for you, because you're a Swiggy delivery boy, is a source of your livelihood, and reliability on it is the most important. I understand and I believe, therefore, that I can charge a premium because I have the most reliable motorcycle in market is another way of saying the same thing. It's getting a job done. Sometimes doing that job is to connect them to the showroom closest to them. Sometimes it's about making sure that they can select the product. Sometimes it's about getting the brochure right. Sometimes it's about getting tech specs. And sometimes it's about reassurance. In our category, in terms of insight, we've realized that wisdom of strangers plays a very large role. And so how customer testimonials can reassure you at the right point in the journey is, we have learned, a very marked change in the engagement for a prospect. And it could be similar for your product, your brand, and your category, or it could not be. But for ours, which is more in the mobility durable variety, and the ownership experience is 6 to 8 years, wisdom of strangers seems like it's playing the trick in a lot of ways. And I just skip that because we don't have that much time. For a lot of our customers, because 2/3 of our sales is in the sports segment, but 1/3 or 40% is in the commuter segment, being able to afford it is a real problem. And I thought for sports, it shouldn't be, because we're selling motorcycles for 2 lakhs plus or 2.5 lakhs plus, which is in the Indian continent a fairly decent price to pay. And then we figured that 34% of our customers are students. It's that 19-year-old boy who has the KTM Duke plastered on his wall for 3 years before he turns 19 and can persuade his father to visit the show. And so affordability then becomes a real question despite the category and the price point that you're in. And so how to solve that problem? through engagement and through communication. At one point in time, marketing used to be, I have a brilliant product, I sell brilliant technology. But as I see the world emerging in front of me today, it is more about people like this do things like these. And if that is the big question on a larger marketing canvas, how can engagement be furthered to answer the question, is this for people like me? Let me give you an example. We started to sell the electric Chetak just like we sell any other two-wheeler, because we are the world's largest two-wheeler company. And then we realized that the framing of the question in the consumer's mind was not about the way they looked at a durable on mobility. They were buying tech more than a durable. They were buying TFT screens. They were buying the connected nature of the vehicle. They were buying the ability to customize the ride paths. They were buying the ability to customize modes, etc., etc., etc. So when you buy tech, the journey is akin to buying a tablet or a phone, unlike the journey of buying a durable. And the source of that is it for people like me? Because Pulsar, our most famous brand, was born when mobility met masculinity. We have to find a new fulcrum where mobility meets technology, which is if you've seen an Elon Musk video, nowadays most of them are around Twitter, but the Tesla ones, he said we built software and then we built a car around it. And that's a very different framing of the question than automobiles. Let me summarize. What is most important is for each of us marketers to know what are the key questions in the consumer's mind during the path to purchase. And that to me is the root of positive and productive engagement. If we know the questions, and all the examples that I showed you in the last couple of slides were actually to answer these questions, because to the best of our ability, these are the questions. What is it? Is it for people like me? Is it good? What do others say about it? Can I afford it? And where can I experience it? And for every communication and every experience, there is a certain and a specific job that it does. If we come back from the job, we marry it to the metric we want to move, and we know where it fits in the larger customer journey, I think engagement is attainable. We achieved on results a fairly robust increment in the number of people who dropped us leads. We also started to sell digitally. From zero a year ago, we now do 5% of the company's sales through digital mediums. Our qualification rate was about 40%, has moved to 70%. This is people who are interested in having a deeper conversation. And our lead rate has moved from 2 to 4.5%, because one of the things one of the things that's very, very important for a transformation program to get to its finish is the ability to show that needles are moving in the right direction. And hence, I put up these metrics for you to figure out. So in summary, if you know your customer's journey, you talk like a human being. You can meet them where they are. You can intuitively answer questions. And you genuinely care about solving the problem. You're there. Thank you very much.
That was an amazing session, Manik. Lots of insights. And I think, most of it is that conversation and connection, the way I see it. At the end, we are still dealing with humans, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, or wherever it is. And making sure to answer his question at what stage in his buying cycle he is very important. And that doesn't change, whether you are selling it through a call center, whether someone walks through, in the showroom, or whether you are doing it digitally as well. And that's very important. And the way you mentioned about a Swiggy guy, actually, for him, the vehicle being durable and running for his livelihood is so important. It's very different than how someone would look at a KTM, for example. While the Swiggy guy might also dream of a KTM at some point, definitely that's also true in this scenario. We'll try and go through the same summary, the way you have mentioned, but slightly go deeper in as a part of this conversation and try and understand, how important, and how do you think about budget allocation being a leader in the space which is beyond acquisition. Acquisition CACs, I think, I'm sure that there is, it's all skyrocketed. Everyone wants the same person, and it's a category. The two-wheeler category is pretty dense right now with EVs, and so many more startups also coming into the scenario as well. So beyond your CACs, how do you look at budget allocation when you talk about digital transformation in specific?
So there are two or three ways of looking at it. The first thing, Keyur, is that for most parts, the money is not a problem if you can see green shoots, if you can see positive traction, and you can see results coming. And so um, the philosophically, what I can tell you what I have practiced is to start small, look at what's working, and then scale when you get success. So success first, scale later is one thing. The other thing is that sometimes you're doing things that will help you for the next quarter. Sometimes you're doing things that will set you up for the next 5 or 10 years. So when you are investing in a CRM, for instance, or you are investing in an engagement platform or creating a customer data platform, these are not things that you will do repeatedly every quarter or you will change your mind. So if investment in these can run into crores now as a percentage of total spends for a company as large as Bajaj Auto, it may well be a very small percentage. But the fact of the matter is, standalone it will run into crores, and so it is fine, and it is understood that it will serve the organization for multiple years. Then there are things that you will spend on for marketing. Marketing will be for a quarter to support a particular product launch or to support a particular festive season, etc., etc. Those investments are obviously viewed differently. But my general mantra is that if something cannot show positive needles in 90 days and cannot pay back in 1 year, it's not worth doing. In today's day and time, it is not worth doing, because the next year the context will evolve so dramatically and the technology will get obsolete so quickly that there is no point trying to set it up unless you are setting up a core system like a CRM for your company, or you are setting up a data lake or a customer data platform. There is no need to sort of worry about things that don't pay you back in a year.
Got it. And terming, like, since you mentioned about getting some value or success in the first 90 days, for example, how do you look at ROI when you make some of these investments? How do you gauge, or say that if you have put X money, what should be the kind of return of investment that should happen on some of these projects?
In my view, if in the first year the results can pay for the investments, it's good enough. If in the next 2 to 3 years they can give you a multiplication in terms of impact, you should be happy. Now the multiplier could be 3 times, 5 times, or 10 times, depending on how great an idea have you struck. The fact is that it is very important to achieve a positive flywheel. So 10% of our inquiries convert into sales in Pune for the Chetak, and 2% of our inquiries convert into sales in the first month. I'm just giving you an example. In some other city, mostly as an average. When you study the delta between the two, Pune has achieved a success flywheel, which is more a good word of mouth, recommendation, advocacy from friends and family. And at one point in time in your sales curve, you achieve a tipping point where then you achieve escape velocity. And so the word of mouth and friends and family also motivate as much as your advertising and communication does. That's when efforts will multiply. When you reach at the tipping point for an idea, then gains will be disproportionate. If you're not reaching the tipping point, then whatever ROI calculation you have done on Excel is quite meaningless.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, definitely, like, the idea would be to reach that tipping point as quickly as possible in all the markets that you would be going in. And just talking still about the ROI, and the budgets that we started to track with, uh, how big is people or the agency side as a part of the ROI equation in terms of your investments? How do you look at that aspect of the investment that comes into picture as well?
Pretty important. So the way we look at agencies is like an extended team. We don't look at them as vendors or suppliers. We have no other option. We run a lean team at the center. And this is our context, unlike other companies who will have 100-member digital marketing teams or digital transformation teams. We have a 25-member team. And so we have no option but to look at agencies as an extended part of our team. And so whatever it takes to get the critical mass is what you do. You augment in terms of capabilities, you augment in terms of capacity, and you do what is required.
Right. Cool. Also, Manik, based off our conversations earlier, and considering that you manage, a large portion of your role in terms of digital transformation is also around insights and analytics. Considering, like you just mentioned, this is the first year that you actually started selling digitally, where you sold around, 5% of the things digitally. How do you generate insights? It's so physical in most cases still. Just trying to understand, digital versus physical, and how do you generate insights between the two?
Interesting. So I'll give you one example of data generating the insights and one example of physical insights. So without measurement, when you ask somebody in the automobile industry, what is the buying cycle or the buying journey or the time period to path to purchase, they would obviously have no other recourse but to go by anecdotes. Now anecdotes originate from dealers, and dealers are all a big part of the cost that dealers incur is in holding inventory, right? And so the conversation is very much around inventory, कितने दिन का stock. एंड सो द एनेक्डोट यू विल हियर इज, सर वो ना 20,000 रुपए डाउन पेमेंट के झोले में लेके आया था, और फिर हमारे पास वो वाला मॉडल था नहीं, ब्लैक एंड ग्रे, वो आपने भेजा नहीं, तो फिर वो सेल लूज हो गई सर, क्योंकि वो तो आया था और बाकी वो फाइनेंस के लिए करवाना चाहता था, तो सर वो फाइनेंसर ने भी वो केस रिजेक्ट कर दिया सर, तो ये सेल नहीं हो पाई. एंड व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड टू मेजर इट डिजिटली and we started to create cohorts of leads, we realized that the M0 same month conversion is between 1.5 to 2% or 2.5% in some cases. By the time it reached M3, 3 months before the lead, 90 to 100 days before the lead came into the system and the customer first expressed interest, the conversion rate goes to about 15%. And after that, it tapers off. There is no appreciable improvement from 15% conversion from there. That to me is deduction of the fact that it is a 90 to 100 day cycle, because M3 is where it tapers out. So that's one insight. The second one I got when I was spending time at dealerships, and that is my favorite thing to do, to go and sip chai and observe the salesperson communicating with the customer at the dealership, at the showroom. And there is this very smart guy, customer, who came and he said, ये आपने N160 जो लॉन्च की है, मेरा सवाल ये है कि ये आपने एयर कूल्ड क्यों की? NS200 तो लिक्विड कूल्ड है. So it's a radiator. Liquid cooled is like you have radiators in cars, and NS series, which is our premium street bike, has liquid cooled. And N160, which is our first dual channel ABS motorcycle, had air cooled. And actually, for 99% of the use on the streets, the engine doesn't get so hot that you need liquid cooling. So it was air cooled. And this sales executive, he was very compliant and very smart. So he started saying, Bajaj Auto 75 साल पुरानी कंपनी है. जमनालाल बजाज जी ने इसकी स्थापना की थी. हम पुणे में हेडक्वार्टर्ड हैं. हमारे पल्सर 20 साल पुराना ब्रांड है और वो जवां दिलों की धड़कन भी है. And we export to 70 countries. And I was aghast because I was thinking customer यहाँ से शुरू होके यहाँ तक आ गया है. पर हम, क्योंकि हमने एयर होस्टेस जैसे आपको इमरजेंसी आयल पे बैठने का एक वो देती है, इट इज जस्ट दैट होल स्क्रिप्ट एंड अ पार्ट ऑफ इट कैन नॉट बी डिलीवर्ड. We started from there, and to that my insight was that if the customer's journey has turned digital to go from here to here, how come our scripts at the showroom are not taking over from where the customer is? Because we are starting from A for apple, even in these situations. So I mean, the more you can meet customers, the sharper is the quality of the insight, is my belief.
I think it goes to back to your summary, intuitively answer questions. आपको फिर से नहीं शुरू करना है. Definitely answer what has been asked. And I also wanted to try and understand, how do you look at digital transformation largely? Is it one large project that you take and it takes a certain number of years to actually go ahead and execute? Or are you looking at it in a more agile manner, trying to incrementally, like, we also had Nitin talk about it last, for example, in case of how they are building the whole digital transformation story. But what's the story at Bajaj Auto maybe?
It depends on what the context is. If you are selling the vision to the board, then you have to look at the big picture and say, 5 years later, what will it take to win? And if that is what it will take to win, are we building muscle and capability to get there? And so the large series of things that we need to do, you end with the kind of customer experience that you want to provide to win in the marketplace 5 years later. And so that's the big picture. But when you break it down, we have broken it down into 22 different small programs. Providing a transparent method for the customer to exchange his or her old bike is a very important part of our sales process. We've built an app around that. For that, we need to engage brokers. We piloted in Pune, and now we are, after a successful pilot, scaling it to 82 cities. Making sure that the customer has a transparent way of finding out what are the finance options, which banks are supporting lower down payment with higher interest rate, and which banks are supporting higher interest but lower down payment, is a platform that we piloted in Kerala, and now we're scaling up. How should the sales process go? How should digital marketing leads go brand by brand and augment market share in select focus geographies is the way to do it. So when you come to a specific part of the program, you have to do success first, scale later. Make sure that management focus and attention is getting you to a point where your product is developed to a point of success and now gets escape velocity. But when you are trying to sell a transformation vision, or you want dealerships to change behavior and attitude, you have to tell the big picture, because human beings remember only stories. Human beings don't remember statistics. Human beings don't remember funnels. Human beings don't remember conversion rates. And so in that sense, it has to be the big picture.
I'm sure tech enables over there at least.
100%. It is my favorite thing to say. There is a role for a 70 KB message. There is a role for a 7 MB expert user review on YouTube. And there is a role for a 170 kg pulsar in the showroom. You just need to know what will nudge the customer one step closer to the sale and apply that.
That's a wonderful analogy that you have taken. lastly, we have a hall full of audience, a lot of budding marketers. How do they sell technology or take decisions in terms of technology and sell that back to their management? A word of advice, maybe from you.
They don't talk about technology. The best way to sell technology is don't talk about technology. Technology is overrated. Talk about customer experience and positive outcomes on sales, and to get any leadership team excited. And then once they are convinced, tell what it will cost to get it done. In an ideal world, don't even get them into the jargon of technology, because you know there are things for which you need to appeal to hearts across the organization. There are things for which you need to appeal to the minds of 10 people sitting in one floor in an office. Don't confuse the two. Tech is a matter of 10 smart people sitting in the room, whereas changing hearts and minds is a matter of 20,000 people in 6,000 showrooms across the length and breadth of this complex geography. So let's focus on that. Don't focus on tech. Focus on customer experience, focus on advocacy, focus on referral sales, focus on better profits, better margins. Don't focus on tech.
I hope some of you have got answers on how to sell technology upwards. Uh, it was wonderful, Manik sir. I think we should take some audience questions as well.
So your experience in overseas markets, particularly language markets like Bangladesh, and when you generate leads, who does it respond? I mean, does it go to the dealer or you have a central team responding to the leads?
So, is this one question or two?
You can take it
Because
as
overseas markets, I have no experience right now. In the last 1.5 years, we have worked in India to create the playbook. Now we'll go abroad because we're present in 70 countries.
right. You are
And in 8 of them we have dominant market share, which is in excess of 40%. So we have
Right.
the dominant brand. We haven't even started marketing efforts abroad.
okay.
We will start now this year. We've started other apps like the sales management system, etc. We have started to now export to some other markets. But there, there is a distributor, a country distributor who's accountable for our brand, and he represents us in the country. So it's one level removed from the consumer is all that I'm
Right.
saying. On the second question, you said who responds to leads.
Right.
The answer is it depends, because we talk about approximately 4.5 lakh leads
Right.
every month. It's like the way we see it is that these are people who have knocked the digital door of the company and
Exactly.
want to get in touch or are interested in knowing more. So there is a segment of these that are directly passed to dealerships, which we
Okay.
think are high intent. There is a segment which we curate through a telesales, this thing, and we make confirmations, we supply them with more information and try to nudge them one step closer and connect them to the dealership and book a test drive. There is a segment of these leads that we curate on marketing technology systems through web engage
Okay.
and the likes. We try and nudge them to a point where they would either walk into the dealership or prefer a call, wherever they are in this stage of journey. Like I said, wherever anybody is, you try and nudge them one step closer to the sale, and that's
So let's say if you run a Facebook campaign and a lead is generated, that would be given to a regional dealer.
no. That's not what I said. I said it depends on the intensity of the lead.
Okay.
And there is a complex algorithm that we have written to figure out the intent of the lead. So automated rules either make it flow directly to the dealer or queue it in the
Mature
call
it.
center.
Yeah.
So I can't naturally tell you right now, because it'll mean the clickstream data that also decides the intensity of the lead. So for instance, if you came to my website, you looked at the e-showroom and you did a 360 view, you did the specs. Now I also have strategic partnerships with Bikewale. You went to Bikewale, compared my brand with something else. Now I know that you are fairly high intent in your decision to buy, and also you looked at finance offers on my website.
Right.
You will perhaps land directly into the dealership, who will call you in 3 minutes of your submitting the lead. But and these are on the fly algorithms, and I'm trying to tell you this is just the starting. We have not even tried to sophisticate the algorithms to the level that they can be.
Wow.
We don't even operate a CDP today, which can make this entire process a lot more sophisticated.
CDP. What does it mean?
A customer data platform.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty much, I think, we have learned a lot from what Manik has to say. I think he has summarized in his summary slide as well. Be where the customer is and make sure you talk to them like a conversation, and build, like, connection is where you build a connection, but after that it's all about conversations.